Of course, in the absence of that counterbalance, in the absence of the USSR, in the aftermath of the illegal dissolution of the USSR, you have had an era of unlimited communism. You like the weekend? Thank a union for that. Thank some communists for that, okay?
And Bernie kind of alluded to it. He's like, he wears a nice suit. He's got a nice smile. And that can fool a lot of people. Trust me. I know, Kaylee. But they're on to something with the prices and all that. I mean, prices are still high. Can't Trump just bring in some corporate executives and just say, hey, guys, there's going to be a socialist revolution in this country if you guys don't do something. Please do something. I mean, you could do this with the heads of these universities. I mean, these tuition rates are out of control. Why doesn't he just say, guys, we're going to investigate you guys for monopoly, price collusion. Get this tuition down. Get this stuff down.
Yeah, he's working on it. Look, Scott Besson is the best of the best along.
This is like when the mere threat of unionization causes a company to immediately boost wages. Okay? You got a dude who's like, I'm a socialist and I want to tackle affordability. And immediately these Republicans are like, we hate socialism. It's really scary. Go, dude, you got to do something about this. You got to bully these people immediately. Yes, also known as the USSR effect. This is why it's important that there is a different world power out there who presents a alternative vision.
Alongside Donald Trump, Scott Besson said, I'm predicting Q4, you're going to see an accelerant on this economy. And already, if you look at it, 3.3% GDP growth, hundreds of billions of dollars of investment pouring into the United States. Donald Trump's cut taxes, deregulating. He has poured a fire on this economy. We're having to dig out from 4 years of Biden-era fecklessness, but we're getting there. And I can tell you this, by the midterms, I think you're going to have a very evident contrast between communist New York City and a thriving United States of America.
All right, Kaylee.
What is the USSR effect? A specter haunting Europe is the USSR effect. When so close in proximity, you have an alternative vision for how society should be run, people start getting ideas. And the Western liberal capitalists, in order to appease the masses and to prevent a full-blown rebellion from taking place, a revolution from taking place, choose to offer amenities such as an expansive welfare state so that you can stop people from recognizing how much has been stolen from them. Of course, in the absence of that counterbalance, in the absence of the USSR, in the aftermath of the illegal dissolution of the USSR, you have had an era of unlimited neoliberalism. We're there right now. We're living in the ashes of that. Without any sort of counterbalance on the global stage, even these beacons of social democracy, these expansive European welfare states, are hit with the austerity ray, with seemingly no interest whatsoever in offering any amenities to the public. Just more tax breaks for the super wealthy, and then austerity to make up for that budget shortfall. Until recently, people didn't know what the fuck was going on in China. And even now, there are people that are far more antagonistic towards the existence of China. China, unlike the USSR, also does not interfere in the affairs of the globe, or tries to even present like an influence peddling operation in the way that the USSR did. For China, the expression of socialism with Chinese characteristics begins and ends on the boundaries of mainland China. For people that say, what about the Belt and Road Initiative? There is not a single part of the Belt and Road Initiative that has made demands over aligning nations in terms of their forms of self-governance. As a matter of fact, China is very hands-off when it comes to aligning with countries, no matter how fascist they might even be. That's where we're at. China is just invested in trades maxing, and that's it, and nothing else. China is still a major trade partner to Israel. Israel is doing a genocide. You talk about Sri Lanka, similar situation. China does not hold back at all. China is never invested in interfering with the affairs of foreign nations. But of course, this back and forth is also correct, because the Chinese assessment of non-interventionism, above all else, is perhaps best dictated by their assessment of USSR's interest in soft power initiatives and its endless interest in aligning with a network of socialist nations and communist nations. So I don't know. The one thing I do know, however, is that China is not the USSR. In terms of its network of influence, or in terms of its global power and global relevance, China is far, far more powerful than the USSR ever could have been, as far as how important the Chinese economy is to the ways in which global trade is designed now. China is the manufacturing hub of the entire planet. The USSR never was. Like, not even close. That is the reason why America can intervene in countries surrounding China. America can have a placeholder, an imperial vestige in aligning in nations that are all the way around China. But America cannot intervene in the affairs of China as easily and collapse China in the way that they could with any other foreign adversary. That's it. China winning and presenting a country that uses socialism and succeeds will inevitably lead to the spread of socialism in ways that the USSR couldn't. More than any other nation, China has studied the collapse of the USSR the most and works to never let that happen to them. That's why they do the things that they do. I mean, I think so. I think that's part of it. But I think that they are heavy-handed in their pragmatic approach. They're a little bit too pragmatic. But then again, I'm an American. I live in the United States of America. And my country's interventions around the world have been so unimaginably repulsive, so unimaginably evil, that who am I to fucking say, hey, Xi Jinping, come on, please do something. It is once again another reflection of how powerless we are here as American citizens, that we rely on a totally foreign country to fix the problems that we are creating by design, deliberately. I agree with you on this. Besides Israel, they need to move on Israel. You mean like they need to take action against Israel? Yeah, once again, it's our fault. It's our failure. It's our issue. But once again, I said this already. China does not intervene in the affairs of foreign nations that it is trying to develop security cooperative agreements with in their own fucking backyard, even when it's beneficial. Like, arming the Philippine government against the Maoist rebel movement is a clear-cut example of this. America would never let go of a sympathetic group of, in this circumstance for America, it'd be fascists. You know, don't shoot the messenger. That's just who they align with. That's who America aligned with. Anti-communists almost always were fascists. So America would never let a group of fascist militants that are willing to fucking take up arms and fight against the government to not take advantage of that instability. China, on the other hand, doesn't give a shit. They will literally arm the government against the Maoist groups. That would drag China into proxy wars, though. See, that's what I'm saying. It's yet another example. With Israel, China could win the entire populations of the globe, the Western world, but also certainly the global South as well, if it took some stringent action against the state of Israel and said, this is a criminal enterprise, we are no longer trading with Israel. It would shut off the Israeli economy. And not only would it shut off the Israeli economy, it would also be unimaginably beneficial for the standing of China all around the globe. It's just not going to happen. Too much risk for very little gain? No, I don't think it's little gain. I don't think it's little gain at all. Would you move to China? I think you prefer your Hollywood mansion smile. I think your topics on here can be interesting at times, though. Have a great day. Thanks, Joe Games. That's got to be the most normal hater of all time. Yeah, it's because I love my Hollywood mansion. That's why I won't move to China. All I'm saying is there's going to come a moment where it will be time for China to intervene, and I don't think they're going to.